Alright, so tonight I wanted to share something quite special with everyone who might view this video. Again, I am no professional, so in this case I'm not say a professional designer or sewer or costume cosplayer. I'm just a guy with a lot of hobbies and time on his hands. So this is my vest. I've had a lot of people who know me, who've seen me wear this on regular occasions. Gotten a lot of compliments, and they've been reminded of several different things, or they've correlated to different things, say the samurai vests or warrior vests. To me, it's really just a vest. And the intention was, despite its odd design, it is something that I enjoy wearing, and I have worn on many occasions. So just to break down the creation of this vest, it started out as a medieval times kids cape. So last winter I went with a bunch of friends to medieval times. We had a blast. It was the first time in many years, and at the gift shop they're selling kid-size capes. Unfortunately, no adult-size capes. But I looked at it and I said, what can I make out of a cape? I haven't had a cape in a long time. I used to play with them a lot as a kid, and so I thought it'd be interesting. Put my creative faculties to work. And so I've been wanting to make a suit of armor for quite some time. Part of the reason why I was collecting all of these, who maybe you haven't guessed by now, but for some of you who have, yes, these are pop can tabs. These are essentially over 3 years worth of collection. I know it doesn't really look like much, but I did spend quite a couple or several years, even abroad in China, collecting these pop can tabs. And this is actually my entire collection that I've used up on this one project. Actually, I was left over with a handful, but this is essentially the bulk of my collection. I had to renew my collection, started scrounging for the materials that I could again. But yeah, the components to this, besides the needle and thread and everything, a lot of this is from found or cheaply store-bought items. So I tend to collect things. I find things that I think might be interesting to use, and I don't really throw it away. I'm not a hoarder, or I'm not a pack rat, but I like to keep things on hand, recycle anything that might be useful for any creative endeavor. So yeah, this started out as a kid's cape. Opens up at the middle here. The collar was already like this, and came with this weave of fabric here, I guess to emulate the chainmail. Again, medieval times. It's kind of like a knight's cape. And then the sides here, where the armhole and a side slit, that was all sewn. That was all originally one piece sewn together. So what I did was I just cut it down the side, just to split different parts, and then I sewed back the middle parts to close that up. Also cut down the back a little bit, just in the middle there, just to give myself some just some different options, design options, as well as for comfort, to be able to, so this will be more flexible, so I can stretch a little bit more when I move around. So this cape, or this vest, the creation of it came in various stages. First of all, it really started with, mainly, I did the top part here. This part mainly took me, I believe, 5 to 6 days, roughly a week, during the March period. I was on break from teaching. It was March break off, and so yeah, I had a lot of time on my hands just watching TV or movies and sewing. So yeah, each one is sewn on individually and overlapped over each other, so you see basically like a scaling of so it is often, people do look at it and they think it is very chainmail like or scale mail like. There's nothing new, by the way. I don't claim to invent this kind of design. I referenced a lot on the internet of pop can tab armor that you could find chainmail. A lot of people have been already been doing. Though I was also inspired by in New York at the MoMA museum, the Museum of Modern Art. They were selling certain craft or artists were making purses and wallets and bags and this kind of fashion, sewing or weaving together pop can tabs. So it's a bit of a I guess eco art in itself, eco fashion, whatever you want to call it. Making use of everything you can scrounge together. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I did all of this first, and I was hoping that I would have enough pop can tabs to cover the entire thing, at least the front. I was wrong, because again, it took up the vast majority of my collection. And I was kind of struggling with this thing about what to do with everything else. I had so before I added anything else here, this was all I had, these two parts here, and as well as here. Oh yeah, this is how I tie it together. Regular, you can see sewed on here. Key ring. I save a lot of those too. And regular sort of either bracelet or keychain chain that I use to weave together through here to create it's basically the clasping mechanism, or yeah. Originally I thought of maybe using these ribbons. This used to be a longer ribbon, but use it as a ribbon to tie together like a noose or a bow. But I thought, kind of keep with sort of the metallic and modernize it a little bit. So using a chain, making use of what I have. And it's probably a little more durable that way. So yeah, for a while, the bottom parts were bare, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it. I had a friend who saw this, and he said that if anything, if I added any more of the pop can tabs, it would probably be way too busy looking, too hectic. So it looked good just up here, and I agreed. So before I get to that, otherwise, what I also worked on was on the back. I always had the intention of working on the back here. This is kind of, if I had a tattoo, this is what it would be. Forgetting the middle part here, the red part. But if I was to have a tattoo of Chinese characters, it would be these on my back. So in a way, this is kind of like the canvas for the tattoos that I would have if I were to have tattoos. And so these are characters that I have that I've chosen sort of as my personal code or my personal creed. They are designed. These are Chinese characters, for those of you who might not know or recognize, or who do know Chinese but are not fairly familiar with. This is a very archaic style, particularly what is called small seal script, I believe. And so the characters are family, jia, or ga in Cantonese, compassion, 人, 忠, loyalty, righteousness, 义, and I, which is love. So again, these are very archaic style of characters, so if you can't read them, that's okay. They're not really meant to be recognized. And this is my family name, Chu or Zhu, again in the classical style. Zhu meaning vermilion, hence the red. Very common theme or motif that I include in a lot of my artwork. So then, yeah, carrying on. Like I said, if I were to have a tattoo, I understand the whole mentality behind having tattoos, in which once you start, you can't really stop. It's kind of the same principle, just because for me, this was like a platform for which I could just have free reign over customization, and that's a lot of what I like, or my idea of fashion. What I like about fashion is to be able to customize and to be able to sort of design whatever you like on it, according to your personality. Clothing as a form of artistic and personal expression. So eventually I started adding a lot more just to kind of fill it out. Before, this is all blank or black. And so, yeah, just within the span of, I think, 2 nights or 3, 2 nights, 3 days, or maybe the reverse. Yeah, I added all the rest here. Again, I had a lot of time on my hands, not much to do. So, yeah, as you can see, again, I'm not a professional. I'm a self-taught sewer. So a lot of this is all done by hand as well. Sort of the, some might say it's very Greco geometry style, but, it's also the Chinese squares or swirls. You can also find that motif in Chinese design. Again, playing with the idea of red, vermilion being the meaning of my family name. Let me go over here. This is the very last thing that I added, again, really just to kind of fill it out. I went to Dollarama and just bought some extra interesting looking beads. These are for making dream catchers, and so bought a pair, and I just this is an old necklace string or rope cut in half and just sewn in here at the ends, and yeah, just added on the beads just to make it visually interesting. This component here, my brother left me a belt leather. This is belt leather that he no longer needed. So again, I had that for a while and wasn't entirely sure what to do with it at the time. Finally, I was able to make use of it. Cut them all by hand. It was quite difficult because this is pretty thick leather. And yeah, just had to nail holes in all, several holes, just to be able to, slip the needle through. If not, the needle would have a really hard time getting through fabric. So yeah, that was a lot of hard work. This whole thing in general was a major carpal tunnel generator. Probably the best part of this, my proudest aspect of this work, is the design here. Now, a lot of you might think that this is a phoenix. I know it looks that way, but this is characters here, 主角, or in Mandarin Cantonese, it's 主角, which means vermilion sparrow. Again, vermilion being my family name. In Chinese astrology or cosmology, there are 4 guardian animals, and this one is the vermilion bird, which is the guardian of the south. So it's kind of extra meanings. Again, I share the same character. My family name is Zhu, which is part of the name of the bird, vermilion. And again, also because my family, ancestrally, I am from southern China, so I kind of unofficially adopted the vermilion bird as my family's symbol, or sigil, if you want to be Game of Thrones about it. So yeah, again, very common motif that I use, the vermilion bird. And so again, all this is done by hand. Just mainly main colors of red and yellow. and I like to work in very abstract means. For some of you who might have maybe seen my artwork online, maybe I'll post a link to it with this video. But yeah, I like to work in very Asian or Chinese influence style of art. Also very abstract. I don't always like to work within the confines of contours and outlines. That's just the art style that I developed. So again, all done by hand. As you can probably tell with the cloud here particularly, parts of it are sort of uneven. It's not fully symmetrical. But I did the best that I could, because it's all done by hand and by eye, just looking a bit on the internet for inspirations of Chinese cloud designs. Yeah, and as it is, I really don't think that there's anything else that I would add to it. I'm quite satisfied with what I have. Oh yeah, very last thing, I also added a bit of a cloud design here. The collar, there again, this was a cape, kid's cape, so it already had this collar here. The only thing that I added for the collar was there was sort of already a gap in the lining here, and so what I did, I was inspired by a jacket that my brother has, in which there's a wire running through the collar that you can manipulate the shape of the collar the way that you like. So I kind of did that and took the same idea. So I had a bit of a metal wire that I ran through the collar, and I just sewed it back up. So yeah, again, I'm not a professional. I've had people who've seen me wear this several times. A lot of friends or relatives encouraging me, saying that, you know, looking at this work, they said that I definitely have potential to be a designer, and that's, you know, definitely very flattering. I have definitely thought about that as a side interest or a side profession. Though of course I definitely have still a lot to learn, but you know, right now I just simply enjoy it as a hobby, you know, making clothing or designing clothing for myself. Definitely, if I could do it as a full profession on the side, you know, besides school teaching, yeah, that would be definitely a dream come true. So just wanted to share this with everyone, my foray into fashion design, and definitely I'll think about what else that I can do in terms of other items of clothing that might be interesting. So yeah, if you please leave comments or just simply like if you like, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.